I want to conclude this discussion. I want to bring Rajiv, Manjeet, and Rituraj into the focus. I want to ask you my last question. And I want to sum up the last question that came from a lot of people, which basically said, how will you motivate your employees when you're doing salary cuts? If in future the lockout stays, how will you motivate people? And I want to add to that, what are your top 3 predictions or suggestions for the future? So with these answers, we'd like to sum up. So we can go Mr. Manjeet Rajayan first, Rituraj and Rajiv.
So a quick answer to the first part. The cuts, if they ever come, and I sincerely hope they don't, will probably only come at the top level, which means at the non-billable kind of thing, because at the client level or at the guard level, you really can't do any cuts. There is no headroom at all over there for anybody. When that happens, I'm sure these people who are actually not the blue-collar workers, the white-collar workers, would absolutely appreciate that this is the survival of the business. And if there is a business, they have a job. And I'm sure people of that level of intelligence will understand why it is required. Where this pandemic is concerned, I think we are yet, like you very rightly said, very early days to say when the vaccination comes, what happens. Yes, I think all of us will agree that vaccination is the last thing. That is when everything goes away. But today is too early to say what is going to be the new normal. I hear a lot of discussions about the new normal will be people will work from home. Easier said than done. The data lines and whoever laid them out, whichever telecom company did not lay them out with the thought that they will be able to handle this huge amount of load at residential levels. It is like buying a Maruti 800, putting 10 kids into it and saying this is a school bus. And plus there will of course be data privacy issues and many other things. So all these things are too early to be predicting right now. Yes, we all agree vaccination is the end. Yes, we all agree that is when the world will become safe. We also know we are a very large country. The world is going to change as we've known it. There will be no more 2,000 people weddings. When you invite somebody to your house, you'll probably say, well, I've taken all corona-related precautions, which means I'm not inviting too many people. So there is going to be a new normal. I don't think this is the right time when any of us can predict what that will be.
Thank you. Rituraj?
Well, I mean, that's too many questions rolled into one. So I think in the interest of time, I'll just probably say that, I mean, the one, not a prediction, but at least I hope that India sort of has a similar recovery as it's had in the past. I mean, let's look at the Asian crisis of the 90s or the global financial crisis of 2008-9. India has always had a V-shaped recovery, which means that the economy declines very sharply, but then it sort of bounces back also equally quickly, instead of a U-shaped recovery or a L-shaped recovery. So I hope that same thing plays out, because India continues to be a domestic consumption-led economy. We are an economy with a high saving rate of 17%. I think the government has also done a great job so far to curtail the health impact of COVID by definitive action and timely action. I can see that the suitable monetary measures are being taken by Reserve Bank of India in terms of liquidity injection at various levels. One is very hopeful that India will come up with a reasonable fiscal stimulus measure as well to back that up. Countries like the US have done a 10% of GDP fiscal stimulus. UK has done 15%. Japan has done 20% of GDP stimulus. India so far has done not even 1.5% of GDP fiscal stimulus. Our economic situation is not the same. We are BBB minus investment grade. That's a problem. But I think India must use this as an opportunity. Our economy was in doldrums even before COVID started. But there were restrictions on fiscal easing. Today, those restrictions are off. India, like other countries, can print its way through this mess, and it would probably need to with the number of people we have to look for. So honestly speaking, my big prediction, or rather hope, is that India shows a V-shaped recovery. There are enough indicators to support that. even Moody's and Fitch, even as they are saying 0 to 1% growth, we probably will end up as the only G20 nation that is still able to forecast growth in financial year 2021. So I think let's hope and pray that the human or the health side of this crisis is curtailed, and may God be kind, and economic recovery happens rapidly, because we have to support livelihoods of the largest population in the world below poverty line. So India needs a good action, but a little bit of good luck as well.
Thank you so much, Rituraj. Rajiv, the last word.
Thanks. I think Rituraj and Manjeet have broadly covered both the questions, and I would like to pick up one which is very important, Anurag, which you mentioned about the the motivation level of the employees during these times when we cannot rule out the salary cuts and the other cost cash conserving measures. Okay. So I think it all boils down to what is the level of engagement that the leadership team does with the employees during these times. And most of the employees, I think, whether they are part of G4S or part of Chenon Group or part of SIS or the other organizations, have been with these organizations, I think, for a very, very long period. Because I have particularly seen that the employees, which is the white collar employees, have a tendency to stay much longer in good organizations. And that's the reason we have many employees who have been in the organization for many, many years. So they have seen the best of the organization time. They've seen the good side of the organization. And probably this is the first time they are coming across this kind of a crisis in their lifetime. And they all understand that it is the question of survival of the organization. And as Manjeet said, if the organization survives, everyone survives. So all our employees we have been engaging with are highly supportive of the decisions that the management would take. This is the requirement, and in the times to come. And I don't see a problem with reference to the motivation of any of our employees, and they're highly supportive, and they're participating in whatever actions and the decisions possibly we are taking. In terms of the future of COVID, it's very, very uncertain, and I am not a health expert to comment on when will we get a vaccine or when will the economy start taking a turn. And to answer Anisha's question on the travel, it's again something which is very difficult for anyone today to predict as to how will the travel industry shape up. I was just reading an article yesterday. My son is in the US, and he stays in a place called Daytona, which is in Florida. And Daytona Beach was opened yesterday by the US government, and 2,000 tourists flocked onto Daytona Beach yesterday. So that gives me a ray of hope that probably US is opening up the beaches for residents. And the same thing has happened in New Zealand. So probably that gives me a positive indication that probably the recovery of the travel industry, Anish, is going to be soon, because when the beaches are getting opened, I think that it is a question of people reaching out to those beaches. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed. I'm a travel enthusiast, and I love traveling. I'm stuck in my house for the last 40 days, so I can understand the pain of a travel enthusiast who is not able to travel today. But that's the future. We need to live with it. We need to be very, very careful, and we need to take all the precautions to ensure that we overcome this pandemic.
Thank you. If you had to say one word to describe the future, one word, what that would be, Rajiv? One word.
I would say it's bright.
Bright. Rituraj? Unmute. Rituraj, we can't hear you.
At this point, I can only say that one can be cautiously optimistic at best.
Cautiously optimistic. Use two words, but I like that expression. Organic, pivoting, and cautiously optimistic. Manjeetji?
Evolved.
So on this note, on being in a process of evolution as the times evolve, as Rituraj says, we will organically pivot, and Rajiv says it'll be a bright time. We'd like to end this discussion on the future of the professional outsourced services industry. Thank you, Mr. Manjeet Rajan, for joining. Thank you, Mr. Rituraj Sinha, for joining. And we wish you luck for your results tomorrow, SIS results tomorrow. You're a leader in the space. How you do in some way also is a foretell on the sector. So we wish you double luck. And thank you, Mr. Rajiv Sharma from G4S for joining us. For all our viewers and readers, we'll send you a edited video recording of this and a text summary of the discussion. So if you missed out on the full discussions, don't worry. It'll be in your mailboxes and your WhatsApp soon. We look forward to interacting with Mr. Manjeet Raja and Mr. Rituraj Sinha and Mr. Rajiv Sharma in the near future again when things are better and we are able to see a clear road ahead. Thank you so much. God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.